Today, we're going to go straight into what everybody wants to know about, what everybody's been waiting for. So for those of you guys that didn't watch last week, Sheila talked about her diagnosis with vitiligo. And this week, we're going to be talking about her approach. Sheila, what is this approach all about?
So the approach that I took, I spoke a bit about it last week, was the nutritional approach. And how I got into that was due to a family member who got diagnosed with cancer. And I basically have learned from her how nutrition plays such a big role on diseases and preventing and reversing diseases. And she started changing her life, and that's when I started changing mine.
And it's interesting because obviously cancer, vitiligo, two completely different conditions here that we have. We've got vitiligo, skin condition, cancer, which we would think of as something a lot more serious. Why did you think that the approach that she was taking would work for vitiligo?
They both are disease. They both, the body might have presented, itself with different symptoms and effects. Cancer is something completely different, but the body, it's still under a disease. And you pretty much approach it the same way, even though it's affected the body differently.
So you obviously had lots of discussions with her before you decided to go through the nutritional route. What was it very quick after you had this discussion with her, or had you had these discussions beforehand, so you kind of were prepared, you knew what you were going to do?
Well, when she got diagnosed, it was before I even knew that I had vitiligo. So we already had started making changes at home because we were living under the same roof. So, I sort of went vegetarian when we first found out, because I knew the benefits of it. And then once I was diagnosed, it became a bit more, so to speak, serious, because now it was my turn to make that change. And obviously, once I started realizing that that was the change I needed to make, obviously we definitely had more discussions about it, and she sent me all the information that she had and videos and watching doctors, and so that's when things definitely took off.
So you used a lot of her support, her resources. Did you look anywhere else as well to kind of not verify as such, because she's gone through it herself, but did you use any support online, or were there any other web pages that you kind of relied on to guide you and direct you?
Not really, because the information that I had seen already was just so, it gave me the answers that I needed. So I didn't really feel the need to go into it even further. But obviously, once I started my own journey, I obviously picked up on a few other people that I did start looking into.
Okay. And before we talk about the other people that you started looking into, let's go into what you were doing during the initial stages. So what exactly were you doing?
Well, in the beginning, it first started off with, juicing. So I kind of needed to get the recipe and then start making it a routine.
Yeah.
And once I sort of had that in place, I started looking at the diet and, what groceries I needed to buy and what exactly is it that I needed in order to make sure that I was getting everything that I need. So that was, it's sort of like a practice.
Yes.
I had to really dive into it and go to the shops and make lists. And
right.
She obviously helped me with that because she was already on that journey. So I used to sometimes go and do the grocery shopping and help her prep the food as well. So that's where I got it.
So anyone actually watching this is going to think, well, in my fruit basket, I have my bananas, I have my pears and my apples. Would that be enough?
No, because it wouldn't be enough, and I'll tell you why. Because I have removed, all the dairy products, all the meat products, all animal products, you need to make sure that you get enough, protein and iron and all these, vitamins and minerals. So something I wasn't really doing before was including seeds and eating nuts and enough vegetables and legumes and beans. So these are the things that I now had to start incorporating, and there were a lot of vegetables that I wasn't consuming. So I had to add them in as well to make sure that I was getting all the nutrients that I need.
So I'm going to use the present tense because you're still doing this. You're adding it to your smoothie. When you add it to your smoothie, could you have this aside? So could you separate this into a meal plan and actually say, right, for dinner, I'm going to have this protein, and instead of the vegetables going into my smoothie, they're going to be on my plate. So I'm going to boil them, or I'm going to steam them. Can you have those vegetables, and can you eat them, consume them in different ways during the day, or are you actually consuming them through your smoothies because they're all going in as one product, in one go?
So I do incorporate a smoothie before I exercise. And that is more of a berry smoothie with your banana and a kiwi and some coconut water. It's not necessarily, all the vegetables that I buy. That doesn't really go into the smoothie. That comes in when I make a massive raw vegetable salad for my lunch. And that's where I get most of my my raw vegetables, the fiber and all of that. Whereas at night, I'll only have like a vegetable soup, so that my body doesn't digest at night, so that I can sleep well, and it's not so heavy on the body.
And obviously this is completely different to what we were talking about in part one. Part one, your diet was obviously, you're working in pastries and you had a lack of sleep, working really long hours. Overall, your well-being was you were struggling a lot. And now you're doing the complete opposite. So you're kind of looking after your nutrition. You're doing your smoothies. We're going to be talking a lot more about a day in the life of Sheila in part 3, where we're going to really home into exactly what the smoothies are and what products, what fruits you're using for the smoothies. Sheila's going to share some tips with us on her salads and what she's using and what vegetables she's using during the day to help her immune system. But today we're really sort of obviously focusing on the approach and why you've taken this approach, how you're finding it. So today, tell us what you're actually doing now from what you were doing before. Do you feel, Sheila, that it's a burden? Do you feel like it's taking a lot of your time in the day?
Not really, because it's become a priority and second nature. It's definitely not a burden. It's quite the opposite. It's something that makes me feel good, and it's not something that I dread doing every day. And it can take some time, but we all need to eat. We all need to prep our food. So it's really not a burden at all. I thoroughly enjoy it because I know it's benefiting me in so many ways.
And tell me about your prep time.
I don't really plan, it's just, like I said, it's become second nature for me to do this every single day. I do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Every single day I do the same thing. I wake up I get up at 6 o'clock, I start juicing, and I already know what I'm having for lunch. I already know what I'm having for dinner. And like I said, we all need to prep our own food. We all need to eat. So it's not really much more than what people are already doing on their day-to-day basis, unless you're eating out all the time.
And have you cut that out? I mean, I know we're obviously in this COVID situation, and so it's a lot harder to eat out. But were you someone who used to eat out quite a bit before, and what's that kind of turned into now?
I used to eat out a bit more, obviously, than what I do now. But obviously, when I do go out, sometimes it's obviously nice to go out and, have a different meal, or even a meal that's prepped by another person.
Yeah.
So look, I still do sometimes, not very often, but when I do, I still stick to the whole foods, to the salads, to anything pretty much vegan, and I definitely don't cheat on those days.
Amazing. Really, really amazing. I think this is all kind of helping us understand, this approach. Can you talk to us a little bit about, first of all, this motivation? What drives you? What motivates you?
It's become pretty natural, this motivation, so to speak, because obviously once I saw results and started healing, that immediately drove that motivation, and I immediately knew that it was the right thing to do. So it was pretty much seeing the results, and obviously because I feel good, I feel good in my own skin now. Like I've lost some weight, my skin is healthier, I have so much energy. Just everything that's come along with eating a whole food plant-based diet has literally motivated me in every way. I mean, how could you not feel motivated once you feel good and you see results?
And I know it sounds a little bit cliche, but as I'm talking to you, I feel that energy. I can feel the energy coming in. I can feel those positive vibes. You're in Africa right now at the moment, and, in a different continent, but I can really feel that coming across. And I think it's really important to say that, because you are looking really radiant. You look really healthy. How soon after did you see the first pigment after you started juicing, and where was that first pigment?
So this is very interesting, because I started my plant-based journey in, if I'm not mistaken, it was in March, around the 15th of March, so mid-March. And that's when I went all in. I didn't hold back on the changes. I completely went vegan, and it was 2 months later that my pigment started appearing. Only 2 months. And some people might say that's a long time, but it's actually quite a short period of time.
I think it's extremely short, because this is a condition that's very stubborn. And when it appears, it does take a very long time to go, whatever approach. People have used different treatments, and they'll always say, gosh, it takes ages to go, and smaller area, you'll notice it in smaller areas. Where did you notice that first pigment then? Was it your eye or your mouth?
No, it was actually on my nose, where it healed first.
And there's nothing there right now. It's all clear.
Nothing there.
Right?
This has healed completely. This was all white.
Amazing.
But my pigment, it appeared there first, it healed first. But funny enough, it wasn't the place that where my vitiligo started.
Yeah, because it started at your mouth, didn't it?
Correct.
And then it started repigmenting there. And now you've been continuing to juice now over how many months would you say in total?
Since March, almost a year. It's been 10 months, 11 months.
11 months. And you're noticing considerable progress as well around your eye as well. It just looks like it's closing up a little bit.
It definitely is closing up, as well as my lip. My lip was definitely more white. Now you can see there's spots appearing.
Yeah.
And just trusting the body, because under the right conditions, our bodies heal.
And you're so positive about this. You're so motivated as well. You're so determined. I think those 3 words really do sum you up. For someone who's been diagnosed at such a young age, to actually take this on and say, right, this is what I'm going to do. This is the approach I'm going to take. Like, I really think you are a big inspiration to many people out there. who have vitiligo. And I really feel that if anybody who has been recently diagnosed wants to find out more, they can always pop their questions in the comments below. And Sheila, I'm sure you'd be willing to respond to those comments. We could both respond to those comments if anyone's got any further questions.
Absolutely.
I mean, you say you're feeling better, you're feeling energized, you feel really positive, you've kind of managed to maintain a little bit of your weight as well as you've been doing the juicing. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with us today about this whole approach?
A lot of, people try and heal their vitiligo, and, a lot of the times people give up too quickly, I feel, because they're not seeing any results. And the key to healing is definitely consistency. And you need to believe that what you are doing is the right thing to do. Because if you don't, you think something's going to work, but you're going to keep, it's not motivational. You're not going to keep yourself motivated.
Yeah.
And if I can do it, if I can heal my vitiligo, there's nothing special about me besides the changes that I made. If I can do it, anybody else can do it.
I mean, all of this is really positive. Everything you're saying just sounds so realistic, achievable, measurable, one of those smart targets. But I want to ask you, and I want to ask you a sort of final question, which I hope doesn't come across as negative in any way. We all have down days. We all have days that we're struggling with. This applies for if we're trying to work out, do exercise, lose weight, manage our diet. Sometimes we have those down days where we're not feeling energized, we're not feeling motivated, we're feeling low. We've got some situations that are affecting us mentally and physically. Have you had those days where, you wake up and you think, I can't do it today?
I feel like I've never really woken up, feeling demotivated, but I've had my doubts when healing. Before I started healing, I definitely did have my doubts. I was very unsure that what I was doing wasn't going to work. Like, I didn't know, it was something new to me. As much as I believed in it, I still had my doubts. And I must say, ever since then, I've been pretty positive. But I will admit that recently it has been, I've maybe had those days that you are talking about, because, my healing has slowed down, and I have had a bit of bad skin. And it's just to show you that no healing journey is a straight line. It's up and down. And you just need to keep on believing that what you are doing is the right thing. You need to keep on going. You need to be consistent. You cannot lose focus on what your goal is. And like I said, nobody's healing journey is easy. And that's where I think people get demotivated.
Yeah.
When they feel that, that doubt, and, they're having these bad days. But you pick yourself up and do what you can. If one day, you missed out on something, or you didn't do something right, forget about it. Make it right the next time.
Wow, this is fantastic advice. Really great advice coming from someone who's going through this, who's using this approach to really kind of change their lifestyle. And you have changed it. I mean, you've changed your lifestyle, who's continuing to change their lifestyle. Anyone that's watching this, we just hope that you've been able to pick up some tips on how Sheila has, really kind of combated and mentally overcome her fears and worries about vitiligo. She's just kind of got on with it. She's got on with it, and she's just been focused and determined. And I just, really feel proud of you. Like, I just think it's really inspirational. There can be so many people watching this that I know are going to want to know exactly what you are doing. And so next week, we're going to really look into detail. We're going to look into your lifestyle, Sheila, a lot more. We want to know about your breakfast, exactly what you're having. I want to know about lunchtime, exactly what you're having, and dinner time, and what your week looks like. What does your week look like? So guys, don't forget to stay tuned next week. Part 3, we're going to look into Sheila's day in her week life on nutrition and what she's doing that's working for her and why this is so successful. Sheila, you've been an inspiration. Thank you so much for joining us today. I've really enjoyed listening to part 2, and I can't wait to find out about everything you're doing in part 3.
Looking forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked the content and you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit the like button below and subscribe to my channel where I'll be sharing more content with you. If there's something that you would like me to talk about, please pop it in the comments below. See you next time. Stay positive.